Mysterious Doll, a true horror story. Introduction. It was the kind of storm that transformed the familiar into the menacing. Thunder rolled through the countryside, shaking windows and sending tremors through Clara's old sedan. Her wipers struggled against the relentless rain, and the once scenic drive to her grandparents' house became a test of endurance. As she turned a corner, the car's headlights illuminated a sign pointing to a small, unnamed village. Desperate for shelter, Clara veered off the main road and followed the muddy path. The village was eerily quiet, its cobblestone streets glistening under the deluge. As Clara scanned her surroundings, she spotted a faint glow from a shop window. Above the door hung a faded wooden sign that read, "Harlow's Antiques." Grateful for a reprieve from the storm, she parked and hurried inside. Part 1. The Doll. The scent of old wood and mildew greeted Clara as she stepped into the dimly lit shop. Shelves lined with peculiar trinkets and forgotten treasures loomed over her. A tinkle of a bell announced her arrival, and moments later a frail woman emerged from the back room. "Welcome, dear," the woman said in a raspy voice. Her eyes, sharp and calculating despite her age, scanned Clara from head to toe. "Quite the storm out there, isn't it?" Clara nodded, her eyes wandering across the cluttered shop. Her attention was drawn to a doll perched high on a shelf. It was unlike any she had seen before, a porcelain face so delicately crafted it almost seemed alive. Its eyes, a startling shade of blue, glistened even in the dim light. The doll's dress, though faded, hinted at Victorian elegance, complete with lace and tiny embroidered roses. "You've noticed her?" the old woman said, following Clara's gaze. "That one's a special piece." Clara hesitated. "It's beautiful. How much?" Mrs. Harlow's expression turned grave. "It's not about the price, dear. That doll has history. Some say it's cursed." Clara laughed nervously. "Cursed? You're kidding, right?" "I never joke about these things," Mrs. Harlow replied, her voice dropping to a whisper. "The girl who owned it disappeared, and everyone who's kept it since has faced misfortune. If you take it, be prepared for what comes with it." Clara hesitated, but her fascination outweighed her fear. Ignoring the old woman's warning, she purchased the doll and left the shop, her heart racing with excitement. Part 2. The first night. Clara arrived at her grandparents' house late that evening. The storm had eased, but the sky remained heavy with clouds. She brought the doll inside and placed it on her bedside table. Her grandparents, already asleep, were unaware of her peculiar find. As she lay in bed, Clara couldn't shake the feeling that the doll's eyes were watching her. She tried to dismiss the thought and drifted off to sleep. In her dream, she found herself in an old, candlelit room. The air was thick with the scent of lavender and dust. At the center of the room sat a young girl, no older than 10, with long blonde hair and tear-streaked cheeks. She clutched the same doll Clara had brought home. "Help me," the girl whispered, her voice trembling. Clara tried to speak, but her words stuck in her throat. The girl's image blurred, replaced by shadows that loomed closer and closer. Clara woke with a start, her heart pounding. The doll still sat on the bedside table, its gaze fixed on her. Part 3. Strange occurrences. The next day, Clara couldn't shake the unease that lingered from her dream. She told herself it was just her imagination, a result of Mrs. Harlow's ominous tale. But as the days passed, strange things began to happen. The doll would appear in different parts of the house. Clara would leave it in her room only to find it sitting in the living room or on the kitchen counter. Her grandparents dismissed it as a prank, but Clara knew better. At night, faint whispers echoed through the halls. Clara strained to catch the words, but they always dissolved into the wind. Shadows danced on the walls and lights flickered without explanation. The sense of being watched grew unbearable. Clara decided to investigate. She returned to the village, determined to ask Mrs. Harlow for answers. To her shock, The antique shop was gone. The building stood empty, its windows boarded up as if it had been abandoned for years. Desperate, Clara turned to the internet, searching for any information about the doll. Hours of research led her to a local historian who specialized in the area's folklore. She arranged a meeting, hoping for clarity. Part 4. The Doll's Origin. The historian, a wiry man named Mr. Graves, listened intently as Clara recounted her experiences. When she described the doll, his expression darkened. "That doll belonged to Eleanor Whitmore," he said. "She was the daughter of a wealthy family who lived in the old Whitmore estate. Eleanor vanished one stormy night, and the doll was the only thing left behind." "What happened to her?" Clara asked. "No one knows for sure," Mr. Graves replied. "Some say her governess, driven by jealousy, killed her and hid her body. Others believe Eleanor's spirit became trapped in the doll, unable to move on." Clara felt a chill run down her spine. "What should I do?" "You must return the doll to the Whitmore estate," Mr. Graves said firmly. "It's the only way to put her spirit to rest. But be warned, the house is not welcoming." Part 5. Journey to the Whitmore estate. The Whitmore estate loomed at the edge of the village, hidden deep within a dense forest. Clara's unease grew as she drove down the narrow dirt road leading to the abandoned mansion. The trees seemed to close in around her, their gnarled branches clawing at the sky like skeletal fingers. When she reached the estate, she was met with an eerie silence. The mansion, once grand, was now a decaying ruin. Ivy crawled up its stone walls, and shattered windows gaped like empty sockets. Clara hesitated, clutching the doll tightly. She stepped out of the car, the crunch of gravel beneath her feet breaking the oppressive quiet. The wind picked up, carrying with it faint whispers that sent shivers down her spine. She could have sworn she heard her name. The front door creaked open with a groan as Clara pushed it. The air inside was thick with the scent of mold and decay. Dust-covered furniture and peeling wallpaper bore witness to decades of neglect. She pulled out her flashlight and scanned the room, its beam catching glimpses of forgotten portraits and broken chandeliers. Clara's footsteps echoed as she made her way to the grand staircase, which spiraled upward into darkness. The historian had told her Eleanor's room was in the attic, where she had spent most of her time before her disappearance. Each step up the staircase felt heavier than the last. The doll, cradled in her arms, seemed to grow colder with every passing moment. The attic's secrets. The attic door was ajar, its hinges rusted with age. Clara pushed it open, revealing a room frozen in time. Dusty furniture, old toys, and a small bed draped in moth-eaten linens gave the space an eerie, melancholy feel. At the center of the room sat a rocking chair, its faded cushions indented as if someone had just been sitting there. Clara placed the doll on the chair, her hands trembling. "I'm here, Eleanor," Clara whispered. "What do you want me to do?" The air grew frigid, and the room darkened as if the light itself was being drained. The doll's glassy eyes seemed to glow faintly, and Clara felt a presence envelop the space. Suddenly, a shadowy figure appeared in the corner of the room. It was the girl from Clara's dreams, Eleanor. Her translucent form was both sorrowful and haunting, her eyes pleading for help. The governess's legacy. One day, while cataloging artifacts in the museum's attic, Clara discovered a hidden compartment in an old chest. Inside was a leather-bound journal belonging to the governess. Its pages were filled with cryptic symbols, spells, and dark incantations. Clara's hands trembled as she read the final entry. "My power cannot be destroyed, only transferred. Those who seek to break my curse will carry it forward, becoming vessels for my vengeance." A chill ran down her spine. The governess's warning echoed in her mind. "You've bound yourself to me." Was it true? Had Clara unknowingly inherited the curse? Determined to prevent the governess's evil from spreading, Clara decided to destroy the journal. She and Mr. Graves performed a ritual to cleanse the object, burning it in a sacred fire. As the flames consumed the journal, Clara felt a weight lift from her shoulders. Moving forward years later, Clara often reflected on her journey. She had faced horrors she never imagined and emerged stronger for it. The mysterious doll had been the catalyst for her transformation, leading her to a life of purpose and fulfillment. Though the memories of the governess and the Whitmore estate still lingered, Clara knew she had done everything in her power to bring peace to those who had suffered. She had turned her fear into courage, her pain into empathy, and her curiosity into a tool for healing. Epilogue. The cycle ends. Late one evening, as Clara walked through the museum, she paused before the plaque dedicated to Eleanor. A faint breeze brushed past her, carrying with it the scent of lavender. "Thank you," a soft voice whispered. Clara smiled, knowing Eleanor's spirit was finally at rest. The cycle of suffering had ended, and with it, the governess's dark legacy. Moral of the story. The tale of the mysterious doll serves as a reminder that some objects carry the weight of their history. Curiosity, while a powerful force, must be tempered with caution. Compassion and bravery, however, can break even the darkest of curses, bringing peace to the restless and closure to the living.